What happens when America's sweetheart of morning television meets a duchess who expects everyone to bow? On a bright Tuesday morning in Manhattan, the cozy set of Live with Kelly and Mark became the unlikely battleground for one of the most stunning confrontations in daytime television history. Kelly Ripa had spent over 2 decades making guests feel welcome, comfortable, and at ease. She'd interviewed presidents, movie stars, and royalty with the same warm, relatable energy that made her a household name. But she'd never encountered anyone quite like Meghan Markle, a woman who walked into the studio expecting adoration and walked out leaving chaos in her wake. Within 20 minutes, the laughter would stop, the smiles would fade, and millions of viewers would witness something they'd never seen before. Kelly Ripa pushed past her breaking point. This is the story of the interview that shattered the illusion and revealed what happens when entitlement meets authenticity. Before we dive into this unbelievable story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that like. We bring you the most explosive celebrity moments every single week, and trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's get into what really happened that morning. The show opened with its signature energy, the live band playing, the audience clapping, Kelly and Mark dancing their way to their seats with the kind of enthusiasm that had defined the program for decades. The first segments went smoothly, a cooking demonstration, a discussion of viral videos, the kind of light entertainment that American viewers had come to expect from their morning routine. Then came the moment the producers had been building toward. "All right, everyone," Kelly announced, her smile widening. "Our next guest is someone who has absolutely captivated the world. She's a former actress, a duchess, a philanthropist, and one of the most talked about women on the planet. Please welcome Meghan Markle." The applause was enthusiastic as Meghan emerged from backstage. She was dressed immaculately in a cream-colored designer ensemble that probably cost more than most audience members' monthly mortgages. Her smile was wide, practiced, the expression of someone who had spent years learning exactly how to project warmth without actually feeling it. She crossed the stage with careful, measured steps, not the relaxed stride of someone happy to be there, but the precise movements of someone performing the role of happy to be there. Kelly rose to greet her with a warm hug. "Meghan, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited." "Thank you for having me," Meghan replied. And there was something in her tone, a certain flatness beneath the pleasantries, that made Kelly's producer instincts tingle with warning. Mark offered his own greeting as everyone settled into their seats. The audience applauded again, and for a moment, everything seemed normal. It wouldn't last. "So, Meghan," Kelly began, leaning forward with genuine interest, "you've been incredibly busy. New projects, new initiatives, life in Montecito with Harry and the kids. How do you balance it all?" Meghan tilted her head in a way that somehow managed to convey both condescension and boredom simultaneously. "Well, Kelly, balance is really about priorities, isn't it? When you know what matters, truly matters, everything else just falls into place. I've always had that clarity. Not everyone does." The subtle dig hung in the air. Kelly's smile remained in place, but her eyes flickered almost imperceptibly. "That's a great perspective," Kelly said smoothly. "I think a lot of working moms struggle with that clarity. Any specific advice for them?" Meghan laughed, a light dismissive sound. "Advice? I think everyone's journey is different. What works for someone in my position wouldn't necessarily translate to someone in, well, a different situation. It's not really comparable, is it?" Mark jumped in, sensing the need to redirect. "Speaking of your position, you've been doing some amazing work with your foundation. Tell us about that." "The foundation is doing exactly what we intended it to do," Meghan said, her voice taking on a slightly lecturing tone. "We're addressing issues that actually matter: mental health, women's empowerment, children's welfare, the kind of substantive work that doesn't always make headlines but changes lives." "That's wonderful," Kelly said. "Can you tell us about a specific program or initiative that you're particularly proud of?" Meghan's eyes narrowed slightly as if the question was somehow offensive. "I'm proud of all of it. Asking me to single out one thing is like asking a mother to choose her favorite child. Everything we do is important. Everything has impact." "Of course, I didn't mean to suggest otherwise," Kelly replied, her tone remaining warm despite the prickly response. "I just thought our viewers might love to hear about something specific, something that really illustrates the work you're doing." "Our viewers?" Meghan repeated, and there was a subtle emphasis on the word that made it sound almost mocking. Well, I suppose if they want specifics, they can visit our website. I'm not here to deliver a sales pitch. Kelly blinked. No, of course not. We just want to give you a platform to share. I have plenty of platforms, Meghan interrupted smoothly. Netflix, Spotify, Archewell. I don't need another one. I'm here because my team thought it would be good exposure for the brand. The word brand landed with a thud. Kelly and Mark exchanged a quick glance, the kind that married couples share when they're both thinking the same thing but can't say it out loud. Well, we're grateful you're here, Kelly said, her professionalism holding steady. Now, I have to ask, and I know you get this question a lot, how are Harry and the kids? America has really fallen in love with your family. Something shifted in Meghan's expression. A hardening, a closing off. They're fine. Harry is wonderful. The children are perfect. But I really prefer not to discuss my family in detail. It's one of the things we specifically asked not to focus on. Kelly nodded understandingly. Absolutely, I respect that. I was just asking in general terms. General terms have a way of becoming specific headlines, Meghan cut in, her voice taking on a sharper edge. I've learned that the hard way. Anything I say about my children will be twisted, analyzed, dissected, so I'd rather say nothing at all. I understand completely, Kelly said, though her smile had become slightly more fixed. Privacy is important, especially for children. It is, though I'm not sure everyone in media understands that concept. The accusation was unmistakable, and it was clearly directed at Kelly herself. Mark leaned forward, attempting to lighten the mood. Hey, I get it. Kelly and I have 3 kids, and we're pretty protective of them too. It's a parent thing. Meghan turned to look at Mark with an expression that bordered on dismissive. With respect, Mark, your situation isn't quite the same as ours. Your children aren't 6th and 7th in line to the British throne. The level of scrutiny is different. Fair point, Mark conceded, though there was a hint of something harder in his usually easygoing voice. Kelly decided to try a different approach. Let's talk about something fun. You've been spotted at some amazing restaurants in the LA area. Are you a foodie? Any favorites you'd recommend? The question was deliberately light, a softball designed to reset the conversation and give Meghan an easy win. Instead, Meghan's expression suggested she'd been asked something deeply offensive. I don't really think about food in terms of favorites, Meghan said slowly, as if explaining something to a child. I think about nutrition, about sustainability, about the ethics of consumption. Recommending restaurants feels very superficial. Don't you think? Kelly's eyebrows rose slightly. I think people enjoy discovering new places to eat. It's one of life's simple pleasures. Simple pleasures. Meghan repeated the phrase as if tasting something unpleasant. I suppose. For some people, that's enough. For others of us, there are more important things to focus on. The implication was clear. Kelly was shallow for asking about restaurants. Meghan was above such trivial concerns. The audience shifted uncomfortably. A few people exchanged glances. Kelly took a breath, her decades of experience the only thing keeping her composure intact. Well, I think we all need simple pleasures sometimes. Life can be pretty intense. Can it? Meghan asked, and there was something almost challenging in her tone. I find that intensity is often a choice. People who feel overwhelmed usually haven't prioritized properly. They're letting external pressures dictate their internal state. That's an interesting perspective, Kelly said carefully. Though I think a lot of people, single parents working multiple jobs, caregivers dealing with sick family members, might disagree that their stress is just a prioritization issue. Meghan's eyes flashed with something that looked like irritation. I wasn't talking about people in genuine crisis situations, Kelly. I was speaking generally. Context matters. Of course. I just wanted to make sure our viewers understood. Your viewers will understand what they want to understand, Meghan interrupted. That's how media consumption works. People hear what confirms their existing beliefs. It's not my job to manage their interpretations. The dismissiveness of the statement was breathtaking. Kelly, who had spent her entire career connecting with viewers, treating them as friends and partners rather than passive consumers, felt something shift inside her. But she kept her composure. For now. Let's talk about your time in the UK, Kelly ventured, changing direction again. You lived there for several years. What do you miss most about it? Meghan's laugh was sharp and humorless. Miss? That's an interesting word choice. I don't really miss places. I appreciate experiences and move forward. Nostalgia is a trap that keeps people stuck in the past. But surely there must be something. The countryside, the history, friends you made. I made very few friends there, Meghan said flatly. The system doesn't really encourage genuine connection. Everything is protocol, hierarchy, performance. It's quite isolating, actually, though I'm not sure Americans really understand that. You all seem to have this fairy tale view of royalty. Kelly tilted her head. I think Americans are more sophisticated than you might give them credit for. We understand that real life isn't a fairy tale. Do you? Meghan's tone was openly skeptical now. Because from what I've seen, American media treats royalty like characters in a storybook. The prince, the princess, the castle. It's very simplistic. I think that's a bit unfair, Kelly replied, and there was an edge entering her voice that regular viewers would recognize as unusual. American journalists have covered the complexities of royal life quite extensively, including the challenges you've faced. Challenges I've faced, Meghan repeated, something darkening in her expression. You mean the racism, the institutional hostility, the press harassment, those challenges? All of those things, yes, and most Americans were horrified by them. Were they, or were they just entertained by the drama? Because from where I sit, it's hard to tell the difference. Mark interjected quickly. I think people genuinely sympathized with what you went through. The Oprah interview really opened a lot of eyes. Meghan turned to Mark with an expression that suggested she found his input irrelevant. The Oprah interview was necessary. It was truth-telling. But sympathy isn't the same as understanding, and understanding isn't the same as change. Nothing has actually changed. The same systems, the same tabloids, the same cruelty. It all continues. But you're in America now, Kelly pointed out gently. You've built a new life here. Isn't that a kind of change? A change for me, yes. But I was talking about systemic change, institutional change, the kind of change that actually matters in the long term. And you're working toward that through your foundation? I'm working toward that through everything I do, Meghan said. And there was a grandiosity to the statement that seemed to surprise even the audience. Every project, every appearance, every piece of content we create is designed to challenge existing power structures and elevate marginalized voices. That's admirable, Kelly said, though her tone had become more measured. Though some might say that appearing on a morning talk show isn't exactly revolutionary. The words were out before Kelly could fully consider them. A small pushback after minutes of absorbing subtle and not-so-subtle insults. But the effect on Meghan was immediate and dramatic. Excuse me? Meghan's voice dropped to something cold. What exactly are you implying? Nothing, Kelly said quickly. You just meant that what I'm doing doesn't matter, that coming here was a waste of time, that my work isn't important enough to warrant your platform. That's not what I said at all. It's what you implied. Meghan leaned forward, her posture becoming more aggressive. And honestly, Kelly, I expected more from you. I thought this would be a supportive environment. Instead, I'm being questioned and judged just like everywhere else. No one is judging you, Kelly insisted, though her patience was clearly wearing thin. I'm asking questions. That's what interviews are. Questions with agendas, Meghan shot back. Questions designed to make me look bad or catch me saying something that can be taken out of context. I asked you about restaurants, Meghan. I'm not sure how that could be taken out of context. It's not just one question, Kelly. It's the cumulative effect, the tone, the implications. I've been doing this long enough to recognize hostile interviewing when I see it. Mark held up his hands. Okay, let's everyone take a breath here. I don't think anyone is being hostile. Of course you'd say that, Meghan snapped, turning on Mark with surprising venom. You're her husband. You're going to defend her no matter what. That's how these setups work. Setups? Mark repeated, incredulous. Meghan, we're just trying to have a conversation with you. A conversation requires mutual respect, Meghan declared, and I haven't felt respected since I sat down. Kelly stared at her, genuinely baffled. Meghan, I've been nothing but welcoming. I've complimented your work, asked about your family in the most general terms possible, tried to keep things light and positive. What exactly have I done that was disrespectful? It's not always what you say, Meghan replied, her voice taking on a lecturing quality. It's how you say it, the energy you bring, the assumptions underlying your questions. You've been treating me like just another celebrity, not like someone who's actually trying to make a difference in the world. I treat all my guests the same way, Kelly said, and there was a firmness entering her voice that signaled she was done being pushed around. With respect and interest. If that's not enough for you, I'm not sure what would be. Genuine engagement would be enough, Meghan said. Not these surface-level questions about restaurants and balance. Not this desperate attempt to keep things light. Maybe actually asking about the issues that matter to me. I asked about your foundation, multiple times. You refused to give specifics. Because I shouldn't have to justify my work to you. The work speaks for itself. Then what do you want to talk about? Kelly asked, her frustration finally becoming visible. Because I've tried every topic I can think of, and you've shut down each one. Maybe I want to talk about why American media is so obsessed with celebrity and so disinterested in substance. Maybe I want to discuss the systemic issues facing women of color in entertainment. Maybe I want to have an actual intellectual conversation instead of this fluff. The word fluff landed like a slap. Kelly had built her career on this show, on creating a space that was warm and welcoming while still being smart and relevant. Being dismissed as fluff by someone who had accomplished far less was more than she could tolerate. You know what, Meghan? I've hosted this show for over 20 years. I've interviewed thousands of people, Nobel Prize winners, world leaders, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I've treated every single one of them with the same respect and curiosity. The fact that you've decided to interpret my hospitality as hostility says more about you than it does about me. The audience gasped softly. This was not the Kelly Ripa they were used to seeing, not the warm, friendly host who made everyone feel comfortable. This was a woman who had been pushed too far and was finally pushing back. Meghan's face flushed. I can't believe you're speaking to me like this, on live television. You've been speaking to me condescendingly for the last 15 minutes, on live television. I'm simply responding in kind. Condescendingly, I've been honest, there's a difference. No, you've been rude. And then you've called your rudeness honesty to justify it. That's a very convenient definition of truth. Mark looked between the two women, clearly unsure whether to intervene or let this play out. The producer in his earpiece was frantically telling him to do something, but what exactly was there to do? Meghan stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to sit here and be insulted. You haven't been insulted, Kelly replied, standing herself. You've been treated exactly like every other guest who sat in that chair. The only difference is that you expected special treatment and didn't get it. Special treatment? I expected basic courtesy. You received basic courtesy. What you wanted was deference, and I don't defer to people simply because of their titles or their marriages. The mention of her marriage seemed to strike a nerve. Meghan's eyes flashed dangerously. Don't you dare bring Harry into this. I haven't mentioned Harry once in this entire conversation. You're the one who keeps bringing him up. Because everything I do is filtered through him, through the royal family, through this narrative that I'm somehow defined by who I married. I am my own person, Kelly. I had a career before Harry. I had accomplishments. I know you did, and I was looking forward to talking about them. But you've spent this entire interview being defensive about things I haven't even mentioned. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside her chair, her movements sharp and aggressive. This was a mistake. Coming here was a mistake. I should have known that American media is just as toxic as British media. American media has been overwhelmingly supportive of you, Kelly pointed out. Oprah gave you 3 hours of unchallenged airtime. Ellen had you on multiple times. Every magazine profile has been glowing. If that's toxic support, I'd hate to see what toxic criticism looks like. You don't know anything about what I've faced, Meghan said, her voice rising. You sit here in your comfortable studio, with your comfortable life, asking your comfortable questions, and you think you understand struggle? You don't. You can't. You're right. I don't know your specific struggles, but I've never claimed to. All I've done is try to have a conversation with you, a conversation you've made impossible at every turn. Because your idea of conversation is just asking me to perform, to be entertaining, to give you sound bites you can replay. My idea of conversation is two people talking to each other with mutual respect. You've shown me none. Meghan turned toward the exit, then spun back around, pointing at Kelly with a trembling finger. You're going to regret this. When people see how I was treated here, they'll see exactly what happened, Kelly interrupted calmly. Cameras don't lie. I asked you normal questions. You responded with hostility, and now you're leaving because you can't handle an interview that doesn't go exactly the way you planned it. I'm leaving because this environment is toxic. You're leaving because you're not in control, and that's something you clearly can't tolerate. The observation was so precise, so devastatingly accurate, that Meghan seemed to physically recoil from it. You don't know me, she whispered, her voice trembling now. Whether with rage or something else, it was hard to tell. You're right, I don't. But I know what I've seen in the last 20 minutes. And what I've seen is someone who expects the world to accommodate her while refusing to accommodate anyone else. Someone who demands empathy while showing none. Someone who talks about kindness and compassion while treating the people around her with contempt. The audience was completely silent now. Even the crew seemed frozen in place. Meghan stared at Kelly for a long moment, her expression cycling through something that looked like shock, anger, and finally something almost like recognition. As if she were seeing herself through Kelly's eyes for the first time and didn't like what she saw. But then the walls went back up. You'll hear from my team, Meghan said coldly, about how this interview was conducted. I look forward to it, Kelly replied. Our footage is available anytime. Everything that happened here happened on camera. Meghan turned and walked off the set without another word. Her heels clicked against the floor with sharp, angry sounds, each step echoing through the stunned silence of the studio. Mark watched her go, then turned to Kelly with an expression of disbelief. Did that really just happen? Kelly sank back into her seat, the adrenaline that had carried her through the confrontation beginning to fade. Yeah, it did. The show cut to commercial, giving everyone a moment to process what had just occurred. Kelly sat quietly, her hands trembling slightly as the reality of the situation sank in. A producer rushed over. Kelly, are you okay? I'm fine, Kelly said, though her voice was quieter than usual. I didn't expect that. Nobody expected that, the producer agreed. She was completely out of line. I know, but I still feel... Kelly paused, searching for the right word. I feel sad, honestly. I really did want to give her a positive platform. I admire what she's tried to do with her life. I just couldn't let her walk all over me. Mark put his arm around his wife's shoulders. You didn't do anything wrong. You were patient way longer than most people would have been. Was I too harsh at the end? You were honest. There's a difference. Kelly smiled slightly at the echo of Meghan's own words. I suppose there is. When the show came back from commercial, Kelly addressed the audience directly. Well, that was unexpected, she said, managing a small smile. I want to apologize to everyone watching at home and to our studio audience. That's not the kind of interview we aim for on this show. We always want our guests to feel welcome and respected, even when things get a little intense. She paused, gathering herself. What I won't apologize for is asking questions and expecting answers. That's my job. It's what I've done for over 20 years, and I believe our viewers deserve honesty, from our guests and from us. Mark nodded beside her. We're going to move on to our next segment now, and I promise it's going to be a lot more fun. The audience laughed nervously, grateful for the break in tension. The rest of the show proceeded smoothly. A cooking segment, an interview with a genuinely delightful author, the kind of light entertainment that had made Live with Kelly and Mark a staple of American mornings. But underneath the surface normalcy, everyone knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. What do you think? Was Kelly right to push back, or should she have handled it differently? Did Meghan have legitimate concerns, or was she completely out of line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to help it reach more people.